said it best. He's the man who's the legend. He's a plastic surgeon who really came and saw there were so many things that were going on, and what can he do to help create these mineral sunscreens for all the patients. So Harry is going to join you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi. Thank you for joining us. It's very nice to see everybody. Because I really had a question when I booked this flight. Somehow I booked my departure and return about 10 minutes apart. So I will be arriving today at 3:30 and then I'll be leaving at 4:08. So when I realized that was the deal, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm driving, because the plane ticket was $2,300 from Philadelphia to here. And then I looked, right before I got in my car to leave yesterday, I looked and there was like a cheap ticket and I bought it. I'm like, oh great, I don't have to drive 6 or 7 hours. So I got here, so that's really good. And I got here because I knew you guys were here. And I thought to myself, oh man, I'm not gonna be the one to show up. I'm the person that's supposed to talk. I better get myself here because I have something to tell you guys. I wanna talk to you about invisible things. I wanna talk to you about ultraviolet light. Like, whoever figured out ultraviolet light, right? Whoever thought, here's something coming through that we can't see, but I bet it's there because it's making my skin weird. Like, how did anybody ever come up with that? And then there's the bunch of people that said, wait a minute, when I'm outside, I get red. What's happening in my skin? Like, who decided they were going to look in the skin? And then there's a whole third group of people that said, you know, when we're outside, something invisible is happening to the invisible part of our skin. So there must be something that we can do that interferes with these two events that appear to be correlated but seem kind of mysterious. So what I'm saying to you is that there are 3 events that are happening. There's an event from physics of sunlight coming 8 million miles away and affecting us little humans because we're very fragile. It doesn't happen to my dogs or, you know, I don't know, maybe elephants get it because they throw dirt on themselves. So you have that unknown event of physics. And it's hitting our biology. It's hitting our skin. All of us. I don't care, you know, how we see ourselves. The sunlight sees us the same, so it's affecting us, and it's causing either erythema, which is the leakage of red blood cells out of our blood vessels, or maybe it's causing DNA damage, and maybe it's ending up in dry skin, or wrinkles, or maybe skin cancer, maybe melanoma, maybe it'll be one of the people that kills us 1 every hour from melanoma in the US. And then there's that third part, because that's the biology. Then there's that third part, and that's the chemistry, that we figured out how to address this light so it doesn't make us red, it doesn't give the DNA damage. I mean, those are 3 really big concepts that all come together into photoprotection. So it is true, that's a weird picture of me. Whoops, sorry, we don't want that. So it is true that I did do plastic surgery. I quit that 25 years ago. I started this business 35 years ago when I was just a wee young boy, which I'm not anymore, because I had done some really big skin cancer reconstructions. And it really seemed weird to me because everybody's, well, at least a bunch of people said to me, why did this happen? I wore sunscreen. And simultaneously, I met this chemist. And he said to me, and if you ever have these things happen in your life, you know they're real. He said to me, and I just met him, he said, I have this dream of creating a sunscreen that really protects people. And that was like 1986 or something. I'm like, wow, I have the same dream. So we sort of became frenemies and decided to do this one night. And he was a brilliant chemist. Unfortunately, he passed away, but a brilliant chemist, really understood a lot of those invisible concepts. So we can talk about photo aging defense, but I just want to talk also about sunscreen and get you to understand why this matters so much, because I didn't realize it. I would go to the Jersey Shore and I would take my little kids and I would go buy sunscreen. I'd buy the biggest bottle with the cheapest price with the highest SPF. That was my triangle. Give me as much as you can, make it inexpensive because I got a lot of skin to cover, and I guess I want those big numbers because they mean something. Which in a sense they do, but they don't. Okay, so you guys can read that if you really want to. But let me just tell you the basis of, I believe, what you folks do, and the basis of avoiding visible signs of aging is to protect your skin from the effects of ultraviolet light, and even blue light, and maybe visible light. And maybe we can question that. Maybe we could say, well, you know, is that really true? But let me throw some things at you. One of the things is that the life expectancy in like 1899 was 42. So we are living a little bit longer. I would have been gone about 30 years ago. Life expectancy is longer, and like I said, I didn't want to drive here with all the other millions and 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 millions of cars. I wanted to fly here with 10 or 20,000 flights a day. I think there's some pollution going on. I don't know, I've been to China, I've been to India, I've been to a lot of places. Everywhere it's the same, man, there's cars everywhere. We're sucking oceans of oil, and we're turning it into another chemical. And that is affecting the earth. I don't care what anyone says. We all see it, we all know it. That's not bullshit. There's more stuff coming through. There's more skin cancer, there's more. And we're living longer, and we want to be beautiful. We don't want to be wrinkly old people with babushkas walking around like this, right? So we got to protect our skin. So now the question is, how do we do it? Let me just see what this says here, because this is a good one. Photo aging is a direct result. It's cumulative. It's the odometer on your car. That's when your car breaks. That's when your skin breaks. But your skin is also your immune system. That's why you want to protect your skin as much as you can. Because if you have an organ transplant, you will get skin cancer, because you are shutting down your immune system. A lot of immune diseases are associated with skin cancers because your immune system's not policing your body as accurately. Conversely, if you're getting skin cancer, then you have to understand what's going on with your immune system, because it's the reverse is true too. Even a tan is a sign of photo damage, that's true. Okay, so let's talk about radiation. There's a bunch of different types. We live in the visible world. That's, you know, the colors of red, blue, green, and the other stuff. We don't so much realize that we're also living in the electromagnetic spectrum. And when I say that, I want you to think of TV and radio waves and microwaves and infrared waves. All of those are part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And that goes on, that starts at theoretically 0 and goes on to infinity. Ultraviolet is pretty much 320 to 400. That's the wavelengths, these numeric numbers that we've created that matter to us in terms of ultraviolet light. There's a big difference, though, between UVB and UVA, so let me just kind of focus on that for a second. UVB is the reason why sunscreens were made. UVB is the wavelength that gets you red. It's the wavelength that if you go outside, maybe in about 2 or 3 weeks, because it changes with the changing of the planet. If you go outside, you will get red between the hours of 10 and 2. If you go outside during January or February and lay outside, you probably won't get red. You may get a little bit, but not much. And when I say red, it depends on the different 6 Fitzpatrick types, but you will all leak red blood cells out of your blood vessels. Some people will see it sooner, some people will see it later, but the effect is the same. So erythema, which is what happens when you get red from UVB, is just that. It's the leakage of red blood cells out of your blood vessels into the extracellular space. And that's what sunscreens were geared for. because we wanted to stop people getting red, particularly if they're getting red in the service in the Pacific. We want them to go back into combat. Put something on, go back to work, boys. You know, we're not going to let this erythema stop you. So sunscreens were invented to address UVB. UVA is a very different wavelength. It's the wavelength that causes you to tan. It's a wavelength that's the same all year long, all day long. So you can get tan, you can get that effect in January, in February, and March. You can't get red from that effect. They're different. UVA is going to go deeper into your skin and cause your melanocytes to produce pigment to protect it, as opposed to UVB, which is going to go much more superficial and just result in your red blood cells leaking out. So there are very different wavelengths. There are different times of the year. There are different effects on the skin. UVA goes through glass, UVB doesn't. Pretty interesting that somebody figured that out, actually. And then there's UVC. UVC doesn't reach the earth too much. We use it to sterilize. And when you get UVC, you get skin cancer right away. That's the hole in the ozone. So, maybe that helps you understand that since we basically made sunscreens just to address redness, SPF is just the UVB wavelength. And SPF says to you, if it's a SPF 2, you're getting rid of 50% of ultraviolet light. If it's 4, I think you're getting rid of 75%. So it goes like that. It's a really screwy thing. Let's see if we have it in this lecture here. Well, we don't exactly, but we kind of talk about SPF as how high is enough. So an SPF 10 blocks 90% of UVB. That's pretty good. An SPF 40 blocks 97.5. 50 blocks 98. So you have to look at this and you have to think, okay, that number does mean something. It means that you're blocking out a percentage of it. But it depends how you're doing it, because it also is a statement about how much chemical or how much ingredient is in that product to achieve that SPF number. And I want to go back to that in a second. But the other thing that matters is what chemicals, what ingredients are you using to address that? And here we talk about, and this is a little bit, I don't want to say more complicated, but it's a little bit more definitive, because if you look at some of the major sunscreen ingredients, what you're seeing is that zinc goes throughout the wavelengths. It goes through UVB, UVA, even into blue light, but it's not there. Titanium is much more of a UVB product. And then you're looking at 4 chemicals that you get an award if you pronounce, or you look at alpha-benzone, which is the only UVA. So let me back up for just a second here, because now I want to get away from the imagination of ultraviolet, and I want to talk to you about regulatory issues when it comes to sunscreens, because this is also critical. Anybody here take a prescription medicine? I take blood pressure pill, cholesterol meds. No? Well, my prescription medicines are treated almost identical to the sunscreen manufacturing and evaluation and regulatory issues, because sunscreens in America are OTC drugs. OTC drugs are drugs. They're manufactured as drugs are manufactured, doing validation, understanding the safety and the efficacy, and what drugs cause problems in unborn children, and what drugs may cause photoallergies. That's because in the US, the FDA created what's known as the OTC, the over-the-counter monograph system, which means basically that you can go to the doctor and get a prescription drug, or now you can go to the pharmacy and get Monistat. Monistat, as many people know, used to be a prescription treatment for vaginal candida, but they made it OTC. Prilosec was a prescription drug. They made it OTC. They said you know what, we think you guys are pretty smart, we're gonna let you do your own therapies. Maybe you're not that smart, we're not gonna let you prescribe yourself your cardiac medicines or your hypertensive medicines, but you know what, you have acne, you're gonna go get it yourself. But guess what? Those people that are making it, no, they're gonna do it the same. We're gonna hold their standards to the same standards as a prescription drug manufacturer. And that's good. But let's go to Asia, or let's go to the EU. Sunscreens there are cosmetics. Here in the US, we have 14 approved filters, and I'll tell you about them in a minute. In the EU, they have 29 or 30, because they see them as cosmetics. We see them as drugs. That is a lot better for you. It's a lot harder for us, but it's a lot safer for you. And here's why. A lot of things get grandfathered in. How am I doing on time? I'm good. A lot of things get grandfathered in. When I was doing plastic surgery, one of my big procedures was breast implants. I did thousands and thousands of breast implants. And then one day I got 12 silicone gel breast implant lawsuits. I'm like, what am I getting sued as a doctor putting in breast implants that are approved by the FDA? Well, that was a bunch of bullshit. That never should have happened, but that's the legal world. But the truth is that those breast implants were grandfathered in. They had never been tested for safety. They were grandfathered in '64. A lot of these chemicals were grandfathered in through the early '60s. So in 2019, the FDA decided to do some safety testing. What they did was they drew blood levels of those products. And they thought, when it came to say octocrylene, octinoxate, octosalate, they thought the safety level would be 0.5 in the blood. It was like 190 for 30 days. Not that level, it went down. But for 30 days, they could pick it up in the blood. So what they do is, they tried to make it safer. And they said, titanium and zinc, we're going to consider these class 1. There is no absorption of titanium and zinc. The other 14 chemicals, well, 2 of them are thrown away. They're class 2. They're not safe. The other 12, they're class 3. We're going to still figure it out. So they went even deeper. They went even deeper and they said, we're going to make sure for our little babies that we're not getting absorption of these chemicals, because there's a lot of people that will go out to the store and they'll say, you know what? I want the biggest bottle with the highest SPF and the cheapest price. Because they were living in my triangle that I lived in 1983 when I didn't understand sunscreens. Remember, that's how I started. I'm going to the beach, I'm getting the cheapest product with the highest SPF and the biggest bottle. No, wrong. That's a McDonald's theory, but with really big max. Okay, so now we've gone from the invisible ultraviolet light to how we treat ultraviolet light, which is pretty incredible. So you don't get red, and then you don't get DNA damage, and then you don't even get absorption. Because here's the next thing. Wow, I didn't write this, but whoever did a really good job for me. Here's the next thing. How do you convert that invisible light to some type of event that doesn't bother you? Now, in some respects, it will be charging of that energy to a higher level. In other respects, it will just be reflection and refraction of that energy. So that's the goal, right? We've defined all these things. We know that it's this light source. We know we get this physical reaction to it. And this is what we're doing about it. We're taking a chemical substrate and we're interacting. And we're not doing motor oil. We're doing it beautifully, we're doing it elegantly, and we're doing it so you can reapply it, so you love it, so it makes your skin feel good. And that was the big thing. When I first started, we had a great product. It was called Total Block SPF 60, and I think we introduced it in 92. Felt terrible. But we were addressing it for lupus patients, for people that had had skin cancer. It was very safe. But when we realized it had to be beautiful, that's when we ended up in 40 or 50 countries. So, zinc, very little allergic response. That's really a key. Doesn't burn your eyes. Here's a good idea. Put something on your skin that really burns your eyes. That makes sense, right? We're starting to talk a lot to allergists because one of the #1 allergies are chemical sunscreen filters. So I don't know, I can go through this a little bit. It lays on top of the skin. I don't know if anything's friendly, honestly. The difference is chemical sunscreens absorb. Chemical sunscreens absorb, and why do they do that? Well, because they're a small molecular weight. When you're a small molecular weight, you get right through and you can absorb. So as they're being absorbed into the skin, ready to be urinated out, you're grabbing a hold of ultraviolet light, they're grabbing that energy, and they're charging that energy to a higher level. They're taking ultraviolet light and it's getting charged to infrared, and it gets released in your skin as heat. So this event has to occur in your skin. Or apparently it does, because we're picking it up in your urine. And that's why chemical sunscreens make your skin feel hot. So that's the big difference. Zinc and titanium, and I think zinc is great. Zinc is UVA, UVB, and even into visible light or blue light. Zinc sits on your skin, reflects basically off your skin. Chemical filters, there's 12 in the US, and there's probably about 40 or 50 all around the world because they're really not looked at too heavily. Chemical filters absorb in your skin, convert light into heat in your skin. And therein lies the problem, because that reaction is probably causing DNA damage there. Or certainly abetting and aiding it. I'll put that out as conjecture. Certainly the effect is occurring in your skin. You're charging the light to a higher level, and you're converting that molecule of chemical filter to another molecule. I'm not going to tell you I understand it. I don't. I understand my products really want to stay away from it. Again, the best sunscreen is the one that you like. What we did, here's something great. Let me tell you this. So, about 2 years ago, we do a lot of trade shows. We market to medical specialties. We were at the American Academy of Dermatology, and this was the photomedicine lecture there. And basically what they did was they took 5 or 6 different products. They took CeraVe Hydrating Mineral Sunscreen, Sunbum, Bare Republic, La Roche-Posay, Elta, Eucerin, and TiZO. So I go into this lecture, it's about half or a quarter size of this, and I've gone to it for like 25 years. And I sit down and I basically know everybody there. And I see this name come up and I'm like, oh man, like this isn't gonna be good. Turned out it was very good. And what they did was they tested products for how they were in terms of skin type. So basically, there are 6 Fitzpatrick types of skin, starting with, well, I don't know who, somebody over there maybe with red hair, that's number 1, and somebody with number 4, 5, or 6, pretty much 5 or 6. And they did multiple different products to see, because philosophically, right, the one that's a great sunscreen is the one you're gonna wear. And we, about 10 years ago, tried to do tinted moisturizers in different shades, and we were just trying to get the base. And basically, we gave it to like the 10 or 15 people that work, and everybody said the same thing, not my color, not my color, not my color. And we're like, we're not trying to do color, this is a sunscreen, we'll get to color later. But we couldn't get past color. Nobody could figure it out if it didn't match their skin. And there's 2 males talking to 12 females saying, no, stop worrying about color. This is like an SPF, this is like different, but we couldn't. So we now, fortunately, did make 5 shades of tinted moisturizer. We realized we had to get color first before we could test anything else, so we went that direction. But basically what we did, what they demonstrated, and this was published in the Journal of Photomedicine, was that we matched skin tones really well, and that was our goal. Our goal was to match all shades, all different skin tones. because a lot of sunscreens are just geared towards Fitzpatrick type 1, 2, and maybe 3, and not so much for 4, 5, and 6. But, well, I mean, like, that shouldn't even, I know you're right, but the truth is, like, you know, thank you, but, like, I was taught you treat one patient at a time, so I'll stop there, because there's too much insanity going on in this room. Anyway, it worked good. Now, a note about blue light. Okay, blue light, I don't know. I just don't know about blue light. Or infrared light. You know, there's a lot of things there. I do know for sure that if you go outside, you're gonna get red from UVB, you're gonna get tan from UVA. I'm not sure what's really happening in front of a computer, but I don't think it's good for our brains. I'm not sure about our skin. We do know, we did test everything, zinc oxide is a particle, is a mineral, and it goes throughout the light spectrum. So, also very important, antioxidants. This is a pretty different subject, of course, but very important when it comes to aging skin. So let me see if I can open it up. Here's the conclusions. I think zinc is a great particle. I mean, we need zinc. It was demonstrated actually in Iran in 1961 that there were patients that was zinc deficient. So it's not like we're, you know, like we don't need octinoxate or avobenzone, but we do need zinc. We use zinc in our baby bottoms. We use zinc as an antibacterial. We use it as a sunscreen. There's a lot of uses of it. I think we don't need very high sunscreens, but we need consistency in it. And we do need antioxidants. But most importantly, we need application. We need understanding. We need knowledge that this happens. And that's what you guys are for. Because when I see you guys, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to like 100 people or 200 people times every one of you. So if you can get that message out that, you know, zinc is really a lot safer, really a lot more effective, really a lot better than putting chemicals on your skin. Because there's this, you know, there's a lot of little groups of people out there. There's people that think the world is flat. There's people that, I don't know. I mean, I'm in my own little groups of worlds too, right? But for sure, we don't, I don't think anybody says we need these chemicals. We probably need them in terms of mass production of sunscreens at Walmart or, you know, like that at food drug. But to really protect your face, a good mineral sunscreen on a daily basis is great. Is that for me? Am I done? Any questions? Can I entertain anybody? Because I'm bored listening to me, so. Come on. Anyway, us bald guys, we really need protection, man. It's terrible. Wait, a question.
I do, so. Here you go.
There's a lot of conversation about reef-safe sunscreens. So all of your products, because they're non-chemical, would be considered safer when you're by the ocean.
That was not a question that was fed to her. You know, if you saw in here, there was something that said reef friendly. I'm not really sure if we know what's safe for the reefs. I'm going to start with the boats and the people going there, and maybe the styrofoam tubs and things. I don't know. I mean, certainly we know what's bad for them. I don't think we know, I think avoidance is the best thing for the reefs. Hard to say. I think it's okay in the ocean, but I see that as people like wearing sunscreen, going to the reefs, diving in them. I think if you're doing that, don't wear sunscreen. Keep everything off your body. But we do say that because that's the taglines that came up to avoid chemical filters. I think they were trying to do whatever they could because we know the chemical filters are harmful for them. And I did get to go, I personally went down to like, where was that? In Florida, when they were doing those hearings, you know, to get rid of it. So it's good they're stopping it because there's certainly no reason for it.